School Attendance Review Board. And what the concept is that at the district level and at the county level and at the state level, you bring together school people and community people that try to address the problems of attendance in the state. And so that at the school district level, the county level, and the state level, you have a collaborative effort to kind of diagnose what is the problem in our area that's causing chronic absenteeism and dropouts, and then formulating a plan to address the problem. And the plan is what they call the SARB process. And the SARB process is the multi-tiered system of support for attendance. What do you do at the prevention level to prevent truancy from happening? What do you do to promote a culture of attendance at your school? Do you have reward programs? Do you have a positive school climate? Are you dealing with things like bullying that can be an obstacle to education? Do you have SEL programs that can help students that are depressed or anxious about school? And then at the early intervention level, you have, what are you doing when you notice an attendance problem? How do you respond to it right away before it gets out of control? Do you meet at the school level? Do you send letters home? Do you send emails? Do you, what are all the things that you do at that early sign of an attendance problem? And then the last stage is the intensive intervention. And that's where, after the school has exhausted all its resources, you send the student to a school attendance review board panel. It's either a district panel or a county level panel that meets with the family and tries to resolve an intensive attendance problem that has exhausted the resources of the school. Those are your three tiers that we call the SARB process in California. And what the state SARB decided it needed to do was to create a recognition program for the districts that were doing this really well. And every year we come up with about 20 school districts in California that are being very effective, and usually one or two county offices of education that also are being very effective in addressing their attendance problems. And we want to use those as models for other districts and county offices in the state. And so in this presentation, I want to talk about how we recognize the model programs in California for reducing chronic absenteeism and addressing attendance, and the application that we actually use for deciding which districts to recognize every year. And just as, I don't know, Zena, if you can do this, but one of the links that I sent to you is the link for the School Attendance Review Board webpage at CDE. And this is the webpage at CDE that shows the three different types of SARBs we have in California: the local SARB, which is the district SARB, the county level SARB, and the state SARB, and describes the laws that were established in California for those three different types of SARBs. And kind of the concept was the state SARB would work with the county SARBs, and the county SARBs would work with all the local SARBs in the county. Another aspect of this is that we really believe in supporting team efforts at the school level, the district level, the county level, and the state wants to promote this success that we're having in California. Because what we're seeing in California is we have some districts that are doing outstanding work, like Hemet Unified, and then we have, or Valverde, and then we have other districts that really need help. And so the Model SARB program is to help all the districts in the state by providing models throughout the state, models in rural districts, in medium-sized districts, in urban districts, and what we're finding is that our model SARBs are very willing to help other districts in the state that want to become models. So right here is my introduction to the Model SARB recognition program. So the Model SARB recognition program identifies the leaders in providing outstanding results-based attendance improvement programs that provide comprehensive services to high-risk youth with school attendance or school behavior problems in California. Many of the criteria apply to attendance programs in other states. So even though you don't have a Model SARB recognition program in your state, you may be able to learn from the models that we have here in California. And the model SARBs are recognized by the California Department of Education and the California Association of Supervisors of Child Welfare and Attendance at CASWA's annual conference. So this year, CASWA's annual conference is going to be March 16th to March 18th at the Hyatt Regency in Sacramento. And that's where we're going to be recognizing California's models of attendance improvement. And you can be from other states and still go to the CASWA conference in Sacramento. It's not limited just to attendance supervisors in California. The goal of Model SARBs, ensuring regular attendance for all students. In California, we really emphasize that all when we're talking about students. Model SARBs ensure that all significant student subgroups in the local education agency are provided the interventions and support services they need for regular school attendance. Supervisor of attendance and his or her team, and it's really important that you do have a team at the school level and at the district level. The supervisor of attendance and his or her team must show they have promoted a culture of attendance and have established a system to accurately track attendance of students in all numerically significant subgroups. So in California, we're paying particular attention to your subgroups of students, like your foster youth, your children in poverty, your homeless children. These are subgroups that have high chronic absenteeism. And in California, these high-risk subgroups, we haven't really made a lot of progress in reducing their chronic absentee rate. So we want to focus specifically on those subgroups of students who are at high risk. And many of the methods implemented by Model SARBs may be implemented in other districts in California and in other states. Applications are evaluated by members of the State School Attendance Review Board, who are appointed by the State Superintendent, and by consultants at the California Department of Education. We go over these applications every year, and we pick the best models in California. The next slides cover the 4 content areas of the Model SARB application. Model SARB applications are scored according to how well the LEA details and implements all the practices of a Model SARB in these 4 content areas. So you're basically writing a paper with 4 chapters or 4 content areas. And an ideal district or county office would have a total score of 100 points. And we divide these content areas. The first one, where you're talking about the demographics of your local education agency, the different student population groups, that counts for 10 points. And that's just analyzing your student population. The next point, content area 2, you're talking about your strategies for addressing the needs of these subgroups of students. Then 40 points are from content area 3, which is devoted to all the interventions that you're using and how you measure the success of the different interventions that you're using. And 25 points are for content area 4, where you talk about the qualifications of the people that you're using to implement your plan. A low score in 1 or 2 content areas can bring the total score below the number of points that you need and can disqualify an application from recognition. So you really have to do pretty well in all 4 content areas to be recognized. So you're going to achieve 90 out of 100 points. It's you really have to do pretty well in all 4 content. So content area 1. This is the area about analysis of your student population. The applicant has a 3-page limit. 25 points possible, and they have to identify the numerically significant subgroups in the student population. And for each subgroup, they have to identify what is the chronic absentee rate, what is the excused versus unexcused absence rates, and what are the suspension rates for these subgroups. Also need to identify each significant language group and the extent to which the SARB members reflect the diversity of the student population and provide all necessary translation services. So in California, we have a lot of different language groups for our students, and you can't be a model SARB unless you can show that you are able to translate for each language group that you have in your district. And when you have site level meetings and certainly district level meetings, you have to have a translator present to make sure that the student and the family understand the problem and that you can communicate with them, that there's no language barriers. You also have to describe any barriers to attendance for any of the significant subgroups in content area 1. What are your barriers, for example, for your homeless youth or your foster? Then also in content area 1, you describe how the SARB communicates and interacts in a culturally proficient way that encourages trust and collaboration. We've been talking a lot, Sharon was talking a lot about this in her talk, about how you communicate. It makes so much of a difference. You have to pay attention to what is the particular barriers to education for the family that you're talking to. Describe the goals for providing prevention and intervention activities in a culturally proficient manner, and describe the other means of improvement for behavior problems used instead of responding with suspension. So, one of the big things in California is we want to reduce suspension and expulsion rates. And of course, a student is suspended or expelled, they're going to miss a lot of school. So we see suspension and expulsion as being an attendance problem. And in California, we don't even want a student suspended if there is another method that can be successful. So suspension is a last resort, just like referring a student to a SARB at the district level is a last resort. And then in content area 1, you also describe how data is used to achieve specific goals in reducing chronic absenteeism rates, dropout rates, and suspension rates. So we want to see that the district is paying close attention, not only to chronic absenteeism, but also dropout rates and suspension rates. And then the SARB is required to submit a report to the county superintendent, and we want to see a copy of that report in the SARB application. So that we have an education code in California 48273 that says that every SARB has to present a SARB report to the county superintendent to help the county superintendent oversee attendance in the whole county. And that report is part of this content area 1 section, but it's not counted in the 3-page limit. California would kind of expect the counties to be leaders in improving attendance in their counties. Some counties in California are very good at that, and some counties have it as a lesser priority. But we want to see that the local SARB submitted the required report to the county, whether or not the county is using that report. Content area 2. This is the biggest one. This is the multi-tiered interventions for attendance improvement. You have a maximum of 4 pages for this content area. It counts 40 points, so it's the most important content area of the application. And in this section of the report, the applicant fully describes the various tiers of support for attendance and who is responsible for the activities within the tier of support. So this is one of the tough things on the application. You not only have to say what you're doing at the prevention level, the early intervention, and the intensive intervention level, but you have to say who's responsible for making sure that happens. Fully describe how the staff implements various prevention and intervention strategies to improve attendance in the district. Fully describe the referral and early warning systems used to identify students with irregular attendance, chronic absenteeism, or behavior challenges. Does anyone have any questions about the application so far? The model SARB application we use in California to identify our leaders in attendance improvement. If anyone wants to raise their hand, Randy
So somebody asked, is chronic absenteeism criteria different for continuation high schools?
No, it isn't in
Deanna
California.
Elenas.
Yeah, so in California, the way we do it is you've missed more than 10% of the days enrolled, you become a chronic absentee, whether it's a continuation high school or a regular high school. We do take attendance differently in continuation high schools than we do comprehensive high schools. But the definition for chronic absenteeism says if you miss 10 if you miss um, 10% of the days you were enrolled, you are a chronic absentee, regardless of what educational program you're in. With continuation high schools, they have a shorter day, but it's different. But if you miss a full day, you're considered chronically absent in California. And of course, our continuation high schools do have a much higher chronic absentee rate than our regular high schools. And that's basically because our continuation high schools have students who are at risk. Most of our continuation high school students were referred to continuation high school because they were behind in their credits for graduation, and so they went to the continuation high school as a means to help make sure they graduate. And so the last part here, it says fully describe the referral and early warning systems used to identify the students. One of those would be if you're at high school, you would be looking at referring kids to continuation high school before they get so far behind that they can't graduate from high school. Fully describe how district leadership encourages schools in the district to use their attendance platform to identify students in needs of intervention and or patterns of chronic absenteeism among numerically significant subgroups. I was just talking to one of our districts, Desert Sands Unified, and this is exactly what they were doing yesterday. The district leadership was going to each individual school in the district and making sure that they knew how to use their attendance platform to identify students in need of intervention, and that they were doing the interventions in a timely manner to help those students before they get too far behind. Fully describe the additional support that the LE provides to assist students with unique needs, including students with that are English learners, students that are in special ed, students in foster care, students experiencing homelessness. And that this is a really important part of the model SARB application, that you are recognizing students in these special groups and addressing their attendance needs. Because these are the groups.
David Elda commented and said, it's a process that takes time and even when achieved must continue to maintain the same levels of focus. Fortunately, the district, which is Desert Sands, or Hemet actually, has added a wellness and community resource center to provide services for the obstacles that many families are experiencing, a quote, at all levels of the interventions. And in an effort to reduce the SARB process, said my apologies for not being able to respond at the beginning. So yeah, so it's a complete process.
Yeah, I think that having centers like that, because in California, we're seeing a lot of students that have physical barriers to their attendance, or they have mental health barriers to their attendance. And having a center at the school to provide health care is really important. Or having sufficient number of school nurses to help students is important. So that's one of the things we look at the model SARB application. And I remember that we were really impressed with the centers that Unified has created to help kids with special needs. That's really an important intervention right now because we have so many kids with special needs. Then here, content area 2, fully describe the recognition programs at the school site and district that help promote improved attendance and positive behavior. So uh, we have so many different kinds of recognition programs in California at the school site and the district level. Lots of reward programs. I'll talk to you about some of them that we used to use when I was working at Hemet High School. We had some really creative ways of promoting school attendance and rewarding it. And then it says, fully describe procedures used to ensure timely truancy notifications pursuant to Education Code Section 48260.5. That state law in California says that you have to notify a parent as soon as a student misses more than 30 minutes 3 times without a valid excuse in one school year. So this is a law that's been around for a long time in California. They recently originally the notification to the parents was had a sort of punitive tone to it. It was a letter that basically told the parent that they might be guilty of an infraction and they could be found guilty in a court of law. And it was sort of a scary letter for a parent to get and caused wasn't a good reach out to the parent. In California, we've changed that notification so that it's more parent friendly and it tells the parent what kind of resources are available in the school district to help their child with attendance. And I think we've actually improved that notification. And this notification doesn't, a lot of districts do it by letters, but it can also be done by emails. It can be done by text messages, as long as all the required elements of the communication are in the message.
David, we had a comment from Emilio Ortega.
Okay.
Said based on this presentation, model SARB programs are ones that have preventative programs to support these students. My question and concern is if preventative programs are effective, then you would not have a need of a SARB. I wonder if model SARB programs have targeted services and supports in the SARB program to support students who are chronically absent.
Absolutely. And that, in fact, the stronger your prevention and early intervention programs are, the more likely you are to become a model SARB. You really want to have a very small number of kids who get referred for intensive intervention or especially get referred to courts. The success of your program really is in the early tiers of intervention. So that's really right. I mean, in fact, some of our model SARBs had a very small number of referrals to the district level SARB because they were doing such a good job at the school site level in tier 1 and tier 2. And some of our model SARBs would go a whole year before they would have a referral to court because they'd exhausted all the resources and were not successful in having a student go back to school. So that is really important. I think so there's this kind of distinction. What is the SARB process versus what is the SARB group that handles the most intensive interventions? The SARB process focuses on the early interventions to sort of reduce the need for the more intensive interventions level. This is just what I did to show some of the things that they offered at Hemet High School when I was there for students with good or improving attendance. So Elda, probably these things aren't happening anymore at Hemet High School, but we were quite creative with rewarding students for attendance when I was there. The first thing we did was we had students with 3 or less unexcused absences in all classes for a semester have an opportunity to select their teachers for the next semester. Number 2, students who attend every day for 5 days will have the opportunity to attend a rewards presentation in the Commons. At Hemet High School, they had a big Commons area at the center of the high school where the students could go. 3, students with no unexcused period absences throughout the semester will be given reserved parking spots in the student parking lot for the following semester, or another prize if they did not drive to school. Or students who complete an entire grading period without unexcused absences will be given a ticket for a drawing for a major prize donated by a community business. And one year we had a car dealership that actually offered a car to the student at Emmett High School who, in the drawing, was recognized as having no unexcused absences in the whole school year. They would be in a raffle and could get an actual car in its dealership. And then the fifth one is any class without an excused absence during a grading period will be treated to a pizza or ice cream in the commons. So these are some of the creative rewards that you can get that help promote that culture of attendance. Content area 2 continued. Fully describe how both the LEA and the SARB engaged with the students, parents, guardians, or caregivers, including in languages other than English. Part of this is to kind of recognize that sometimes you're not dealing with parents, sometimes you're dealing with guardians or caregivers, you know, you want to make sure that whoever that child is living with, you work with them in whatever language they speak. Fully describe how the LEA and the SARB monitor and support the mental health and social and emotional well-being of students during the year, including students in the significant subgroups. So this is where you get into a lot of the really beneficial social emotional learning programs for students. We have lots of different programs that districts can choose from. One of the common ones for our model SARBs is a program called Why Try, and this is a social emotional learning program that's available throughout the country. Why Try programs and tools help students master the skills they need to succeed at school, at home, and in life. It support them emotionally to be resilient, but no matter what problems they're facing or obstacles to attendance. School teams or SARBs may refer students to Why Try programs to support their mental health or social and emotional well-being, including students in significant subgroups. Why Try and other SEL programs can be described in detail. So one of the things I remember when we were using Why Try at Emmett High School is they have a lot of visual metaphors that you can discuss with students. And these were metaphors of, have a picture of a wall and the student is can't see beyond that wall. And a lot of students were able to relate to this. They couldn't see their futures. And in that Why Try program, they have lessons that help the student go above that wall and see into their future and to have some hope. And you have mentors to help the students become more resilient about the problems that they're going through at school. And some of these SEL programs are meant specifically for elementary students. Some are used for secondary students. Why Try can be used at all grade levels. A lot of them come with flexible toolkits and pre-built classroom lessons that teachers can use. A lot of them have really engaging interventions, activities, and media like music that you can use to motivate. A lot of them have professional development tools for administrators to transform their school culture. So, right now I think we're running into a lot of cases where the school culture needs to be improved. Some school cultures are dealing with things like bullying that need to be addressed. And there's a lot of programs out there to help school administrators transform their school culture when that's necessary. Content area 3. Okay, this is the content area of the Model SARB application where you have to discuss the SARB and staff roles and responsibilities, SARB collaboration and qualifications. So this is where you get to talk about specific staff in your school district or county office and their role in helping the SARB process. What responsibilities those particular staff members have that ensure early identification of students with attendance problems in any school programs, including independent study and home and hospital instruction. So in California, we're having an increasing number of students that are in short-term independent study and long-term independent study. And how do you monitor their attendance? In California, their attendance is equated to work completion. It has to be monitored. We have different rules for students that are in short-term independent study compared to long-term independent. And we also have students with temporary disabilities who are doing their education at home or in a hospital. It's not an independent study program. It's a different program where a teacher actually goes to the home or the hospital to instruct the student. And it's in California, the supervisor of attendance has a particular responsibility to make sure that when a student is getting individual instruction in the home or hospital, that they're not counted as unexcused from the regular school, and that we really watch those students and help them transfer successfully back to school when they are able to overcome their temporary disability. Fully describe the professional development provided to the staff in supporting school attendance for in-person students and independent study students. So this is one of the things Sharon was talking a little bit about. That professional development you give to the staff is so crucial, and we expect our model SARBs to be able to describe in detail how they provide that professional development for their staff. Identify the person responsible for screening the SARB referrals to evaluate the documentation in each case. Describe how this person ensures that the school has exhausted other interventions prior to SARB referral. So in California, we do not want families referred to a district level SARB until the school has exhausted all its other interventions. And you're at a point where you have to go to a higher level to help that family. So we want to know in the SARB application, who is the person that screens those referrals to evaluate the school really has done everything that it should. Identify the representatives on the SARB and the agencies or organizations they represent. So how the representation on the SARB is consistent with the representation listed in Education Code Section 48321. So in California, there's an actual statute that lists all the people that should be on the SARB, like what community agencies they should be. You should have a parent representative. You should have a representative from law enforcement. You should have a representative of social services. And it's really important that even if not all of the people on that list are present at every SARB meeting, that those people from those agencies and organizations have been invited to the SARB, and that they are present when they need to be and when they can help. Describe the attendance and commitment of the SARB members to SARB meetings, how the SARB members combine their expertise and resources to meet the needs of students and families. This is for the cases that really need intensive intervention. You need to have a really competent panel that meets with that family and is able to address some pretty severe concerns like homelessness. Then you also have to describe how the SARB utilizes a special education representative in cases involving students with exceptional needs. So whenever a student has an IEP plan or a Section 504 plan, you make sure that there is a representative from special education present to help the SARB understand what the disability is and how it may be affecting their attendance at school. And, maybe it may require that the IEP be adjusted to have an attendance goal. And how is the school going to support that attendance goal? Are there any questions about that, about referring special ed students to a SARB and who needs to be on the panel? Because special education students are one of those subgroups that typically has a high chronic absenteeism rate, and you have to be mindful of their special education needs when they come to the SARB panel for intervention. Any questions about that? Describe the process that is used by the County Board of Education to certify the supervisors of attendance pursuant to Education Code 48244. So in California, what we do is we require the County Board of Education to certify the people in the districts that are supervising attendance. And every county does it differently. In California, some counties do a really good job of training the supervisors of attendance. In other counties, they need the help of the Department of Education to do the training. It depends a lot on whether it's a small county or a large county. But the state law is that every supervisor of attendance of a district that has more than 1,000 students has to be certified by the County Board of Education that they are competent in their role at the district. Give a specific example of SARB collaboration for an individual with persistent school attendance or behavior problems. Describe the process that is used by the County Board of Education to certify the supervisors of attendance pursuant to Education Code 48245. So here we want a specific example of a case that that it was the collaboration of the SARB to help the individual with an intensive attendance problem. And we also want to know some detailed information about what does your county do to certify the supervisors of attendance. Specific example of how SARB collaboration for an individual with persistent school attendance or behavior problems was resolved by the SARB. And this is the last content area of the Model SARB application. There's no maximum number of pages on this. 10 points are available. So point-wise, it's the least important of the 4 content areas. But we require the applicant to submit 3 letters of support for the SARB. And we have some details of what has to be included in those 3 letters. So 2 of the letters must be written by people who have participated directly in the SARB and are not employees of the school district. So these are letters of support for the local SARB from parents or guardians, caregivers, former students, and community partners. This helps the state SARB or the consultant at the CDE get a sense of what someone actually experienced who was not an employee of the school district when they participated in the SARB process. And we often get stories from students and parents who describe how the SARB helped them with really intensive problems and got them the support that they needed so their child could go back to school. And then one of the letters must be by a school employee who describes in detail the team approach used at the school site to address school attendance or school behavior problems before referral to the SARB. There must provide an example of collaboration with the SARB on actions or interventions recommended by the SARB. So a lot of times the SARB will make recommendations to the school site about having the school student check in with someone at the school every day. They'll make recommendations for a school counselor, social worker to work with that student, and they will. This letter will talk about how that intervention worked with that particular student and that collaboration between the school site and the recommendation of the SARB. One of the 3 letters must describe a school or district reward system to recognize improved attendance or behavior. So we want to see that in all our model SARBs that they do have a school or district reward system that promotes a culture of attendance at the school. And we get a lot of really creative reward programs by different school sites in this part of the application. And I want to provide you with my contact information. So, I have both my cell phone number here and my email here, and I'm more than willing to work with districts who are trying to make their attendance improvement program stronger. I know it's a real challenge, and I think it really has to be a team effort. People can't do this on their own. They really need to have a team.